Big news when it comes to the Raiders. The Raiders general manager John Spytek is attending Boise State's Pro Day today, and very likely is going to be eyeballing star running back Ashton Jeanty. Local reporters like BJ Rains and KTVB Sports confirmed John Spytek's presence there. Many videos and pictures showing him on site in Boise State. Now, when you're talking about a guy like Ashton Jeanty, there's no doubt about it. He's a beast. Widely considered the top running back in a loaded 2025 running back draft class. And after a monster college season where a lot of people thought he should have got the Heisman Trophy, a lot of people felt like he got snubbed, but he accumulated over 2,000 rushing yards, 29 total tackles, and this guy was just breaking records left and right. He's absolutely elite when it comes to making opposing tacklers miss, and is seen by many as a potential generational running back prospect. Now, with the Raiders sitting at the number 6 overall pick, we have been linked to him for several weeks now in mock drafts, and especially just given the fact that we have a need at the running back position, and we were one of the worst rushing attacks last season. So with John Spytek being there in person, it definitely is going to amp up the speculation that Ashton Jeanty could potentially be our guy. Even if some fans are going to take into question whether or not taking a running back that high would be a good positional value, or if the Raiders should consider other players at that position. Now, to me, this is important though, seeing that John Spytek is at attendance at Boise State's Pro Day. I mean, Pro Days are where general managers get a lock-in on prospects post NFL Combine, and with Ashton Jeanty not doing any drills, not participating in the NFL Combine, this is going to be John Spytek's first live look at him in action. And just given the fact of Pete Carroll coming in the building, his run-heavy philosophy back to his Seattle Seahawks days, and John Spytek also has a history of building balanced rosters out there in Tampa Bay. So this is interesting, and it could potentially be the first sign of what the Raiders could do in the first round. Crazy enough, the NFL draft is not too far away, a little bit less than a month, but some other important dates for Pro Days coming up that the Raiders should consider is April 4th, that is Colorado's Pro Day, and I fully expect the Raiders to attend this Pro Day, but there has been no confirmation that this is the case. And obviously, by going to Colorado's Pro Day, you can take a close look at Shedeur Sanders, quarterback, and also Travis Hunter, who you never know. I don't think he's going to fall to the Raiders at 6, but you never know. We've seen crazier things happen. But one thing I want to talk about is that we just saw the New York Giants. They made a move to sign veteran quarterback Russell Wilson. So what does this potentially mean for the New York Giants? Will they select a quarterback at 3 now? I think something like this definitely opens up the possibility for the New York Giants to not select Shedeur Sanders. Now, I will say though, it's hard to say for sure because it is only a 1-year deal for Russell Wilson. So he's not going to be the long-term answer. They're still going to have to address the quarterback position at some point in time. But at the very least, this does give them an answer at the quarterback position in the short term. So it's really just going to depend on how much do the New York Giants like Shedeur Sanders. But personally, I definitely think this could make it more likely that the Giants pass up on Shedeur at number 3. And really, Shedeur Sanders, if he doesn't go to like Cleveland, if he doesn't go to New York Giants, if that happens, I 100% see a possibility of Shedeur Sanders dropping to 6 to the Las Vegas Raiders. And if that happens, this would be a huge decision for this regime to make. Now, it's also kind of hard to gauge what the Raiders could do in a scenario like this, especially since we traded for a quarterback like Geno Smith, another veteran quarterback. But the one thing I will say is we still don't know what the long-term future is going to look like with Geno Smith, just due to the fact that we still, for whatever reason, we still have not gotten news on what the contract extension is going to look like for Geno Smith, and I feel like that is super important. If we knew the contract details, this could give us a much better indication of what the Raiders could potentially do at 6 if a quarterback were to fall like Shedeur Sanders. To me, depending on what type of contract we sign Geno Smith to, like I said, it's going to give us a better idea of what we could potentially do. If the Raiders sign Geno Smith to like a 3 4-year extension, then the likelihood definitely goes down for me. In a scenario like that, you're probably maybe going to get like a more project developmental type of quarterback this year in the draft, or the Raiders are going to wait a little bit until they invest in a young quarterback through the NFL draft. But if the Raiders ultimately don't secure Geno Smith to like a 3-4 year extension, if we only have him for, you know, the next 1 to 2 seasons or whatever the case may be, then really anything could happen at that point for the Raiders, especially if a young talented quarterback like Shedeur Sanders fell to us at 6. But just in general, this year in the draft, there's going to be so many different options the Raiders will have this year at 6. There's a good chance a guy like Shedeur could fall. Very likely that Ashton Jeanty will be there. A lot of speculation and hype on him getting drafted to us. Teteroa McMillan. We also have a need at wide receiver. He could also be the guy. But I will say, depending on how the draft board falls this season, this may be a good opportunity for the Raiders to trade back in the NFL draft, which is something that the Raiders, they have tried to do in years past, but they just weren't unable to. And a lot of times it is difficult to trade back just due to the fact that you need to have a valuable player on the board falling and slipping for teams to feel the need and the urge to move up in the draft. And the past few years, that really hasn't happened for the Raiders, so that's why I don't think they were able to trade back. But I think this year there are some talented players, and especially if a quarterback ended up falling, this could be a good opportunity for the Raiders to potentially trade back into the first round, accumulate more picks. So that is an option I'm definitely open to. And one thing to take into consideration is Pete Carroll definitely has a track record of trading back in the first round back to his days with Seattle. We know John Spytek is a guy that loves value as a general manager, so I think this is definitely a possibility for the Raiders to consider if good players begin to fall on the board come draft night. But big news, Spytek was in attendance at Ashton Jeanty's pro day. The past week or so has been slow when it comes to the free agency news, but we have made some moves, signing defensive tackle Leki Fotu. Now, I probably completely butchered that name, but he's a big body defensive tackle, a true nose tackle, a run stuffing type of guy, 6'5", 335 pounds. I definitely like that signing. He also is 26 years of age, so that's a nice little move right there. We added some depth at the tight end position with signing Ian Thomas from the Carolina Panthers. And lastly too, one big blow was that linebacker Christian Ellis. The New England Patriots matched that offer that we made for him, and with him being a restricted free agent, he will be going back to New England. Unless if the Raiders really want him, they can still trade for him, but I don't really see that happening at this point. Definitely a big blow. He was another young player, had some upside, and once again in this offseason, New England takes away a player from us, but it is what it is. Raider Nation, I definitely want to get you guys feedback in the comment section down below though. What do you think of John Spytek attending Ashton Jeanty's pro day? Do you think the Raiders should select him at 6? Or just in general, let me know who you think the Raiders should go after in the first round this year in the NFL draft. But with that being said, Raider Nation, that is all I have for you guys in today's video. Anybody that is new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.